Assalamu alaikum, friends of Islam. In our video this time, we will discuss the Jewish people, and of course, it will be related to the children of Israel. The children of Israel have a story that is quite famous and is often mentioned in the Koran. And did you know that in the Koran, Allah has promised 3 things to the Jews? And of those 3 promises, 2 of them have happened, and 1 has not yet happened. And what are those promises? So in this video, we will discuss the 3 promises of God to the Jewish people. Jews are a large nation, most of whom live in the Palestinian territories. Always in our minds as Muslims, the Jews are a group of people who often fight with the Muslim people in Palestine. Even in recent months and this week, we often hear news that there is conflict and hostility towards Muslims living in Palestine. But did you know that the Jews are famous as the nation that is most often hostile to the prophets? Jewish is the name of an ethnic group, which is also the name of the religion as well. This Jewish religion is a religion that worships its God without having an illustration or form. Just like us Muslims, we worship Allah without knowing the shape or what the illustration looks like. This is very different from other religions, which worship God with an image or a form such as a statue. Jews are also an ethnic group that doubles as a religion. The word Jew is also taken from one of the clans, from the 12 ancestors of the tribe of Israel who have the most descendants, namely Yehuda or Yehuda. This Yehuda was one of the 12 sons of the Prophet Jacob. The Prophet Jacob himself lived around the 18th century BC. He also had another name, namely Israil. The word Israel itself consists of the words Isra, which means servant, and El, which means God. So the word Israel means servant of God. A very good name, but not like his people who fought in hostilities in the land of Palestine. Then, because of God's affection for the Jews, there were many prophets sent to the Jews, which exceeded the number of prophets sent elsewhere. Because this nation is famous for its arrogance and stubbornness, many of the prophets who were sent to them were denied by this people. In fact, there were some prophets whom they killed with their own hands. Does every time a messenger comes to you, bringing a lesson that is not to your liking, then you become arrogant? Then some of the prophets you disbelieve, and some of the prophets you disbelieve. Quran Surah, Al-Baqarah verse 87. They are said to have killed Isaiah, Zachariah, Yahya, and other prophets, which they knew was not authorized by Allah. And Allah also mentioned that the Jews had tried to kill the prophet Isa but were unsuccessful. And next we will discuss the first promise of God to the Jewish nation, which has already happened. The Jews are known as a nation that likes to underestimate other religions. They always think that their nation is the most special on this earth. This behavior of the Jewish people is not just a coincidence, because the Koran has explained the true nature of the Jewish people as a word of Allah that reads, "And we have decreed against the children of Israel in the book, surely you will make mischief on the earth twice, and surely you will boast with great arrogance." So when the time comes for the punishment of the first of these 2 crimes, we will bring to you our mighty servants, and they will scatter you in the villages throughout the land. And that is a decree that is sure to be carried out. Quran Surah, Al-Isra verses 4-5. The verse was revealed in Mecca, long before the Muslims had power in Medina. In recorded history, the Jewish nation was destroyed many times before the arrival of Islam. In the past, the existence of the Jewish people was almost extinct under the Babylonian and Roman powers. At that time, the Jews were conquered by the Babylonians, led by King Nebuchadnezzar. It happened around the 5th century BC. The Roman conquest of the Jews, on the other hand, took place between 66 and 135 AD. Allah says in the Quran, "It was He who expelled the disbelievers among the people of the book from their villages at the time of the first expulsion. You did not think that they would come out, nor did they believe that their fortresses would defend them from the punishment of Allah. Then Allah brought upon them punishment from a direction they did not expect. And Allah cast fear into their hearts. They destroyed their houses with their own hands and the hands of the believers. So take the incident as a lesson, O people of insight." Quran Surah Al-Hashr, verse 2. The first expulsion and destruction of the Jewish nation, resulting in the Jews being divided and scattered throughout the land. And then God's second promise to the Jewish people happened, and this also happened. God's second promise to the Jewish people was that God would give them world dominance after they had been destroyed. God promised the Jewish people to give them the opportunity to rise again with a great revival. If we look at this time, the Jews are ruling the world in almost all countries. They also control the economy, society, politics, and government. This is also proven in the Quran, Surah Al-Isra, with the words, "Then we gave you a turn to defeat them again, helped you with wealth and children, and made you a larger group." Quran, Surah Al-Isra, 6th verse. If we pay attention to this verse, we can see that the American continent, which only has 2% of Jews there, managed to dominate America. And not only that, most of the advanced technologies that exist in the world today were created by Jews. And now that it has been proven the second promise of Allah, the Jews managed to avenge their heartache by reoccupying the land of Sham, or Palestine. Even the Jews managed to defeat the influence of the Muslims in the region. Then the Jews had fled to several countries. Now they flocked back to the land of Palestine. Their return to the Promised Land could not be prevented and could not be driven by the Muslims. The arrogance of the Jewish nation is increasing when their economy and military are supported by Western countries. And the third promise of Allah, this has not happened yet. The suffering of Muslims in Palestine, because they are colonized by Israeli Jews, saddens all Muslims in the world. The atrocities committed by Israeli Jews will only accelerate the coming of Allah's torment and law. This is as Allah promises in His words. If you do good, you do good to yourselves. And if you do evil, evil is for yourselves also. And when the time of the second corruption comes, we will raise up your enemies to make your faces dark, to enter the mosque, Baitul Maqdis, as they entered it the first time, and to destroy whatever they possess. Quran, Surah Al-Isra, verse 7. From that verse, we can draw a conclusion. Allah will ensure that one day, the Jews will be destroyed from the face of the earth, and the Muslims will regain control of the Aqsa Mosque, which is now being tried to be destroyed by the Jews in Palestine. And supposedly, according to the news circulating, the attempt to destroy the Aqsa Mosque has two reasons. The first, because according to their understanding, under the ground of the Aqsa Mosque, there is the kingdom of the Prophet Sulaiman. The Jews are trying to get the kingdom off the ground, which will lead to the collapse of the Aqsa Mosque. The second reason is that the Jews are deliberately provoking the emotions of Muslims around the world. On the day before the apocalypse, the Muslims will reclaim the land of Palestine and the Mosque of Aqsa, at which time Muslims all over the world will be led by one of the descendants of the Prophet Muhammad, Imam al-Mahdi. This third promise has not yet happened, but it will. Palestine and the Al-Aqsa Mosque will be reconquered by the Muslims, as happened during the time of Umar bin Khattab, who conquered the land of Palestine. In the Torah itself, Allah has decided that the children of Israel will enter the blessed land of Palestine. Even there, they will establish a government, but then they will do great damage, thus making God punish them by sending His tough servants. Those are the three promises of God to the Jewish people, and hopefully this video is useful.
Well, Islamic circles, viewers, until our encounter this time, I hope you all inspire. See you in the next video. Thank you.